I still remember the day I visited the 9/11 memorial in New York City. It was a chilly winter morning, and as I walked through the tranquil gardens, I stumbled upon a mysterious letter buried beneath a tree. It was addressed to me, with no return address. The only words written on it were "Meet me at the Empire State Building at midnight, come alone." I felt a shiver down my spine as I wondered who could have written this and what they wanted from me. As the sun began to set, I couldn't help but feel an eerie sense of anticipation, and that's when I saw it, a figure lurking in the shadows, watching me. I tried to brush it off as mere paranoia, but the feeling only intensified as the night drew closer, and now I'm standing in front of the Empire State Building, my heart racing with every step. What will happen when the clock strikes midnight? Follow for part 2. As I entered the Empire State Building, I was greeted by an empty lobby, the only sound being the soft hum of the elevators. I approached the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor. The doors closed, and I felt a sudden jolt. The elevator stopped on the 30th floor, the doors opened, and a woman with piercing green eyes stepped in. She whispered, "You're not who you think you are," and before I could respond, the elevator doors closed, and we continued our ascent. My mind was racing with questions. Who was this woman, and what did she mean by those cryptic words? The elevator finally reached the top floor, and as the doors opened, I was met with a breathtaking view of the city. But what caught my attention was the woman's disappearance. She vanished into thin air, leaving me with more questions than answers. And that's when I saw a note on the floor. It read, "Look into the Zodiac killer case." What could this possibly have to do with me? Follow for part 3. I spent the entire night researching the Zodiac killer, poring over articles and documentaries, trying to find any connection to my life, and that's when I stumbled upon a cryptic letter sent by the killer to the San Francisco Chronicle. The letter read, "I will never be caught, for I am the master of disguise." But what caught my attention was the symbol at the end of the letter. It was the same symbol on the letter I found at the 9/11 memorial. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that I might be dealing with a copycat, or worse, the real Zodiac killer. I decided to pay a visit to the San Francisco Chronicle, hoping to find some answers. As I arrived at the office, I was greeted by a friendly receptionist, who told me that I could meet with the editor. But as I waited, I noticed a strange man lurking in the corner. He was wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, and he seemed to be watching me. I tried to brush it off as mere paranoia, but the feeling only intensified as the editor called me into his office, and that's when I saw it, a folder on his desk with my name on it. What could this possibly mean? Follow for part 4. The editor looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and concern. He told me that they had been receiving strange letters and messages, all of which were addressed to me. He handed me the folder, and as I opened it, I was met with a series of cryptic messages and codes, all of which seemed to point to an incident that occurred in my childhood, an incident that I had forgotten, or so I thought. The editor told me that I needed to be careful, that someone was trying to send me a message, but what did they want from me, and why were they using the Zodiac killer's symbol? I left the office, feeling more confused than ever, and as I walked out into the streets of San Francisco, I noticed the strange man from the office. He was following me. I quickened my pace, but he kept pace with me. And that's when I saw it, a black van parked on the side of the road, with the engine running. What did they want from me? Follow for part 5. I tried to lose the man in the crowd, but he was relentless. I finally managed to shake him off, and I found myself in front of a small cafe. I decided to go inside and gather my thoughts. As I sat down at a table, I noticed a woman sitting in the corner. She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. She caught my eye and nodded, as if to say, "I'm here to help you." I felt a sense of relief wash over me, but it was short-lived. As the man from the office walked in, his eyes scanning the room, and that's when I saw it, a gun in his hand. He was looking for me, and he would stop at nothing to find me. The woman got up and walked over to me. She whispered, "We need to get out of here, now," and we made a run for it. But as we burst out of the cafe, I was met with a shocking sight, a group of men in black suits, surrounding the cafe. What did they want from me? Follow for part 6. The woman grabbed my hand, and we ran as fast as we could, dodging pedestrians and cars. We finally reached a small alleyway, and she pulled me into a hidden doorway. We found ourselves in a cramped room, with no windows. She locked the door behind us, and turned to me. She said, "My name is Sarah, and I've been sent to protect you." I was taken aback. Who was this woman, and why was she protecting me? She told me that I was in grave danger, that someone was trying to kill me, and that I had to trust her. I didn't know what to do, but I had no choice. I had to trust her, and that's when I heard it, the sound of footsteps outside. They had found us, and they were trying to break down the door. What would happen next? Follow for part 7. Sarah pulled out a gun and stood in front of me. She told me to stay back, and that she would handle it. I watched in awe as she expertly took down the men who were trying to break down the door. She was a skilled fighter, and she seemed to know exactly what she was doing. But as the last man fell to the ground, I saw something that made my blood run cold, a tattoo on his hand. It was the same symbol that I had seen before, the symbol of the Zodiac Killer. What did this mean, and how was I connected to it? Sarah turned to me and said, "We need to get out of here now," and we made a run for it. But as we emerged from the alleyway, I was met with a shocking sight, a massive explosion. It was the CAF. It had been blown to pieces, and I knew that I was the target. What would happen next? Follow for part 8. Sarah grabbed my hand, and we ran as fast as we could. We finally reached a safe distance, and she turned to me. She said, "We need to get to the bottom of this, and find out who's behind it." I nodded, and we set out on a mission to uncover the truth. We spent hours poring over clues, and following leads, and finally, we stumbled upon a shocking revelation. It was a conspiracy that went all the way to the top, and I was just a small pawn in a much larger game. But as we delved deeper, I realized that I was in over my head, and that I might not make it out alive. And that's when I saw it, a message on my phone. It was from an unknown number, and all it said was, "You're getting close, be careful." What did this mean, and who was sending me these messages? Follow for part 9. I showed the message to Sarah, and she told me that we needed to be extra careful. We were getting close to the truth, and whoever was behind this would stop at nothing to keep it hidden. We decided to pay a visit to an old detective who had worked on the Zodiac Killer case. He was a gruff old man, but he had a wealth of knowledge, and he told us that he had been waiting for us. He said, "I knew you'd come, I've been watching you," and he handed me a folder. It was filled with documents and newspaper clippings, and as I flipped through them, I realized that my whole life had been a lie. Everything I thought I knew about myself was a fabrication, and that's when I saw it, a picture of my parents. They were not who I thought they were. They were involved in the conspiracy, and I was just a pawn. What did this mean, and how would I ever be able to trust anyone again? Follow for part 10. I felt like my whole world had been turned upside down. I didn't know what to believe, or who to trust. Sarah took my hand, and told me that we would get through this together. But as we left the detective's office, I was met with a shocking sight. My parents, they were standing in front of me, and they looked guilty. They told me that they had been trying to protect me. But from what, and why had they lied to me my whole life? I didn't know what to say, or what to do, and that's when I heard the sound of sirens. The police had arrived, and they were surrounding us. My parents were arrested, and as I watched them being taken away, I realized that my journey was far from over. I still had so many questions, and I was determined to find the answers. But as I turned to Sarah, I saw something that made my blood run cold. She was smiling, and it wasn't a friendly smile, it was a smile of deceit. And I realized that I had been trusting the wrong person all along. What would happen next? Follow for more.